fuck is up, my britches? If you are new here, hello, my name is Brittany, and today's video is going to be about these Fenty Beauty cream blushes and bronzers. We're doing a wear test today, okay? Because I tried these both in a first impressions video. I'll leave it linked down below if you guys want to watch that. I used these for the first time and I had a lot of questions. And since then, I have used these products several times at this point, so I have more thoughts on them. So I'm going to give you basically like a wear test and a roundup review all in one. Because the biggest thing that stood out to me when I first used these was the fact that they don't last long on the skin. At least they didn't seem like they did in that first video. So ever since wearing these, I've paid attention to it a lot more, but I still have a lot of the same thoughts that I did in my first impressions videos. But I initially wasn't really a fan of these cream blushes. Since that initial video, I'm more of a fan of them, but they're still not my favorite. Like, I'm at the point now, like, I would not recommend these. I think they're very hyped up right now, but I personally have found cream blushes that I like more, and for the little amount that you get, like, I feel like they have pretty unique shades. Like, I picked up this shade. This is going to be Drama Class. I picked up this shade and also Fuego Flush. Those were the two that stood out to me because I've never seen cream blushes in those tones before, like point blank, period. I think the packaging on these are super cute, and just for the price point, I don't think it's bad, but I'm not like over the moon like, oh yeah, they're super inexpensive. Like, they're 20 bucks. You do get a very small amount, at least to me. Like, these are a little bit smaller than I was expecting. But the cream bronzers, I'm much more impressed with the more that I've used them. I do still feel like these wear off the skin pretty quickly, but that's why I wanted to do the wear test, and you guys actually wanted to see it as well after seeing that first impressions, because even within that hour, like the hour and a half tops, like I had to reapply everything because I was like, how, like, where did it go? Like, what's happening? So I have the shade Macchiato in the bronzer, and I love the shade of this. I think it looks beautiful. I'm not sure if I love the formula of these, and I'll explain why as we get into it. But this bronzer, like, there's other cream bronzers that I do like, but there's something so special about, I feel like the shade of this is perfect for me. And just the sheen that it gives my skin, it gives me almost that like glossy, sweaty type of look, which I'm all about, but it has no shimmer. And I really like the packaging. Like, I like the packaging so much more on this, even though it's so similar with the blushes. Like, I'm not pissed about not getting a lot of product, but when they're like this much of a size difference, which there is a price difference, the bronzers are going to be $32 and the blushes are going to be $20. I'm not necessarily pissed about it, just because I'm not going to go through cream products anytime fast. That's just the sad reality of it all. With the bronzer, you do get 6.23 grams of product, whereas the blushes, you get 3 grams. But for the cream blushes, for the amount that you get, for the things that I would change about it and the formula, I'm not necessarily like in love with, just because I'll just get into it. I have very textured skin. Like, on camera, my skin looks flawless. Like, my skin looks gorgina right now, but in real life is where I really notice. Like, I feel like my skin doesn't transfer like exactly over camera. I try to keep my setup to make my skin look as like realistic as possible, but in person is when I really notice the texture in my pores when I wear this. Like, I think that's something that just really turns me off about this product, because it has like a waxy or almost like a balm. It almost feels like a cleansing balm texture. So it does have that sheen to it, which I am usually a big fan of. There's just something in this that pulls so funky on my skin. Like, when you guys look at it now, you're gonna be like, Brittany, that looks gorgeous. Like, your skin looks beautiful. Like, at least that's what I see when I look in the viewfinder. I'm like, this looks gorgina. Like, my skin looks stunning. But then in person, I think it looks nice, but there's just something that I'm just like, I don't know if I like the formula of the blush. With the bronzer, it doesn't bother me as much because I'm not putting it towards like my large pore area. Like, I have really large pores in this area right here, so the bronzer, it's going to be all back here, so it doesn't have much texture to really emphasize. Whereas my cream blushes, I like to put them on like the apples of my cheek and then blend it back. Like, this whole area, this all gets blush right here. And this area right here is where I have some of the largest pores. Like, they're massive. So right off the get-go, I was impressed with the bronzer, but the biggest thing with both of these, like, I just felt like they faded very fast. So that's what we'll get into now, is the wear test. It's 1:56 right now, but I'm going to show you guys me applying them. I'm going to show you how everything looked at 1 o'clock. I think it was like 1:03, just so you guys could see how these are going to wear throughout the day. Because for me, I look for longevity. Like, when I'm wearing makeup, I don't want to have to touch anything for the rest of the day. And I prefer cream products because they're usually more flattering on my textured skin. So I didn't set these with any powder. The only thing that these are set with is the Urban Decay All Nighter. This is like an oldie but a goodie. But I just applied these to the cheeks, and that's all that we're gonna look at, is just how these look throughout the day. So this is gonna be like an hour into it, just so you guys have a reference. I think everything still looks good as of right now. I'm just very curious to see how these last, because if you want to know about the formula, I'll just talk about that really quick. These are going to be very like beginner friendly, I think. If you're a beginner with makeup and you worry about like over applying your products, I think you would really like these. For me, it doesn't bother me to have more heavily pigmented because I am more experienced with makeup, but the cream blushes, they're going to apply better with a finger. That's at least how I like to apply these, and I'm not usually like a finger applying type of bitch. I just don't really like to apply my makeup with my fingers. Even though I'm getting a little bit more comfortable with it, I like to use brushes. But in the first impressions video, I tried using my Holy Grail Sephora 64 brush, and it doesn't pick up quite the same. It kind of applies a little bit funky on my face. And I noticed too, when I swatch these, they swatch almost like patchy. I noticed that with both this one and the Fuego Flush, like there's just some sort of patchiness. It's such a weird formula for me. I don't know what it is. It's just so odd. The formula on both of these I think are very reminiscent to each other, but I think the bronzer picks up a lot easier with a brush. I think if you're just, like I said, a beginner with makeup or somebody that worries about over applying products, or if you really like buildable type products, these are definitely buildable. I just think they make my makeup application take a little bit longer because I have to constantly build them up and build them up and build them up. Like, I'd rather have something that's a little bit more pigmented that I don't have to necessarily spend so much time, but I know not everybody likes to apply their makeup like that. So I think my makeup always comes out looking beautiful when I do use these. But again, the main thing that I wanted to look at today is how everything wears throughout the day. So here is going to be an hour into it. You've already seen what it looked like when I first applied it. So I think everything still looks relatively good. I think the bronzer is fading like a tiny bit, but I'm not like going crazy about it because everything does usually fade throughout the day. That just is what it is. But again, I didn't set these with anything except for that setting spray. So I will check back in a few hours to let you guys know how it is wearing. I'll probably wait like 2 hours maybe. We'll see. We'll see what time I check in at. Okay, so it's 2:40 right now. I wasn't planning on being back yet, but I'm already noticing like my cheeks are looking a lot more like oily. Like I noticed this even when I first used them in my live stream. Like I'm noticing a lot more oiliness right on like the apples of my cheeks, which I don't hate that. I'm not saying that I don't like that. It's just something I want you guys to be mindful of, that these will give you that like, it gives you like that sweaty look, which I'm a huge fan of, but it's not going to be, I don't know, like sometimes with cream blushes, it'll feel like sticky or tacky. These don't have that feeling. If anything, it feels to me like oily, or it feels like there's some sort of a film on your face. It's not necessarily sticky, but it has that very interesting texture, which I don't find in many cream blushes, which I feel like that might be what a lot of people like about these, is the formula is very different. So that was just one thing that I've noticed. I do feel like things are starting to leave my face. Like the blush isn't looking as pigmented, which is normal. Like makeup's gonna wear off throughout the day. Nothing's gonna last flawlessly. But I even want to get a little bit closer up just so you guys could really see, like my light is gonna wash me out. That's the only thing that's like a downfall. Like on camera, it looks beautiful. It's just in person is where I'm not as much of a fan. Like you could see like that glossiness right there. You see how it's like in my large pore areas? That's the thing that I'm talking about with, I don't necessarily love how they look on my textured skin and my large pores, because it really draws the attention to right there, which you could say to yourself, well, Brittany, don't apply your blush right there. That's where I like to apply my blush, so I don't want to have to change it because of that, because I like when the apples of my cheeks look very just cheeky and cute. Like, I like that look. I like when the apples of my cheeks look flushed, you know? So it's just one of those things that with my application, I don't think these would be ideal for me. But for you, you might be living and breathing and dying for the way that these look right now. It's all personal preference. Always keep that in mind when you're watching review videos, but I just noticed that especially like with this area right here, like I don't hate it. I'm just saying that that's something that I am noticing right now. And it's just the more that I'm wearing it, I do feel like it is leaving my face a little bit. So we'll pop back on in a few hours, or if I notice anything different again. I'm gonna do a quick check and it's 4:04. I'm just standing right in front of my window. I'm on my phone, okay? I think it's still looking good. That highlight is fucking popping. It's hard to tell. I think the bronzer's still there, the blush is still there. It just doesn't look as intense as it did earlier. I mean, it's gonna wear. I know it's gonna wear, but this is what we're looking like. What are we, 3 hours in? It does look like it's staying better than it did in my first video. So here's 4 o'clock. I'll check in when I get back home. If I film another video and forget to turn on my microphone, I'm gonna lose my fucking mind. So we are going to be here for my final check-in. I'm just ready to take these off of my face because I hate the way that my skin feels right now, and we're just gonna get into it. So it is now 8:52 p.m. I've had these on for a little bit over 7.5 hours. We'll call it 8 hours. So this is gonna be 8 hours of wear for the Fenty bronzer and blush. And final thoughts, okay? Do I recommend these? No. Do I like them? No. I prefer the bronzer over the blush, but we'll get into the reasonings why. So I'll start off with the blush because this is the one I'm just not a fan of. And I'm sorry if you love these, but sorry, not sorry. I'm not a fan of these because there's others in my collection that I prefer over these. And it almost like pisses me off because I wanted to love these so much because I thought these were going to be so good, but I was just really disappointed by them. So the first thing that I want to mention is I'm noticing, like, as I look at my skin, I'm noticing exactly where I applied the bronzer because I do set my under eyes with a setting powder. I always have to. It's just something that I got to do. I notice right in this area right here, almost where like the cream blush meets the under eye setting powder, and I even set like that area too with powder just so I didn't have any like awkwardness there, but it ends up pulling through. So I feel like if you were to set these with a powder, it's going to break it apart. Just by seeing what it's doing right here, like that to me is very predominant, and that just ain't it for me, sis. Like I just don't like that look. The next thing that's really bothering me with these blushes is it's emphasizing this texture in my face so bad. Like my pores are popping. Like on camera, it doesn't look that bad, but it's in person where I really hope it translates because sometimes in the viewfinder it doesn't, but then on camera, like when I'm editing and everything, it will pull through that way. But in person, it's just really drawing my attention right there, and that's just an area that I don't want it to look like that. And maybe if I use different primers and stuff like that, but that's just a whole different process. I just use stuff that I had in my collection, and I'm just really noticing the large pores that I have, and it's driving me fucking crazy. But as far as like the finish goes, I don't mind having that glossy finish. I actually really like it. It's just I feel like it's really gonna break down the powders that are around it, and that's just not something that I want to have, especially in my under eye area. So those are pretty much the biggest downfalls with these. Another thing I do want to mention, I have it swatched on my hand already, but the shade that's on my cheeks right now, this is going to be a purple blush. Like it does not look purple on my face anymore. It pulls a lot more pink. So I wouldn't let this shade really scare you. Even when you swatch it and blend it out, like you see how it has that pinky undertone to it. That's just something I really was hoping that this didn't have. Like I know that there's like pinky tones in purple, but I really wanted it to translate more purple and stay purple. So I feel like as you wear this shade in particular, I feel like you're going to have more of that flushy like pink tone to it, which isn't a bad thing. It's just if I'm buying a purple blush, I want it to look purple. I don't want it to look pink. So that was another thing I wanted to mention because I don't think I mentioned that earlier. So overall, my final thoughts on the blush, I was going to cover both of the shades that I have, but I just decided to do the one because I'm like, I'm just fucking over these. Like I don't like them. Sometimes I just get products and I'm like, I don't like it. I don't know why I don't like it, but I just wanted to give it a try. And I am more impressed with the longevity than I was expecting to, but there's so many other ones in my collection that I just prefer over these, and I'm just like, I don't like it. And I feel like another thing that's a big part of makeup is the overall like experience, the feeling that you have while you're wearing it. Like I just kept looking at it and I'm like, I just don't like the way that my skin looks. I don't like the way that my cheeks look. I don't like how my pores are popping right here. I don't want my face to look like this. You know what I mean? So anyways, I don't like the cream blushes. That's my thoughts on that. But moving on to the cream bronzer, I don't hate this, but I don't love it. The one thing that I do want to mention, I'm noticing a little bit funky going on over here. This side I think looks relatively okay, but I feel like the bronzer has faded a lot compared to the blushes. I do feel like the more that you like manipulate these, like when you apply them with your brush and everything, like the more that you try to manipulate them, the faster that they leave your face type of thing. So I feel like once you apply it, like apply it till it looks good and don't touch it after that. But with this bronzer, I'm noticing on this side of my face here, it almost is pulling like, almost like olivey tone or almost like a green tone to it. I just think it has like a funky sort of something going on right here. And I don't notice it on this side, but I definitely notice it right back in here, which I think I have some like pigmentation underneath my makeup underneath that area. It almost looks like it's like grabbing onto the dry patches, if that makes sense. I don't know how to explain it because I don't have dry patches, but it's just like the effect that the pigmentation has. It reminds me of like when a foundation grabs onto dry patches type of thing. So I do like this, but I don't love it. Would I repurchase either one of these? No. Would I buy more of these? No. Would I recommend them? No, because I feel like there is other products out there on the market that perform better than these do. Even longevity wise, like even though I'm impressed with how they wore today, I still have other ones that perform better than these do. I still have other ones that I prefer over these ones. So all that like wrapped up in a bow, I'm just not a fan, and that's totally okay. I mean, not everybody's gonna love every single product. If you have tried these, please let us know in the comments down below what you think of them. Let me know how you think everything looks on my face right now. I'm sure a lot of people are gonna say they look great, but it's just one of those things. Sometimes it's just the way that the makeup makes you feel, and I feel like a grease bomb. So I'm gonna go wash this off right now, but I hope you guys did enjoy it. If you guys did, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and share it out to all your friends so they can know too what my thoughts are on this. And that's it for today's video, and I hope to see you guys in my next one. Peace!